Hey all, this is 01 Suboku and
Janitorial jackass Jherick here.
we're coming at you with the TV review of Twin Peaks season one, but also considered episode three since they don't give the pilot a episode number within the title of, I believe, then right here, yes, oh yeah, Rest in Pain. So Twin Peaks episode three, Rest in Pain, where as you knew from my review last time, they are burying Laura and trying to figure out more of the clues, and not only are more of the clues coming out, people's depression, anger, everything is running high. And since you saw my short review that I put out a couple of days ago, is there? If you've seen it, awesome. If not, hey, hey. But here's Jarek with his take. Take it right here.
But hey, if you all know that David Lynch is a bit of an anime fan, just consider the title Rest in Pain. Who's going to be resting in pain? Because Laura's already dead, so I'm kind of certain it's not her. I mean, if you know enough about anime and enough about their love of word puns and wordplay, yeah, you could really look into that title and really stop and consider who it's supposed to be meant for. And good choice for title there, Mr. Lynch, because funerals really do have a nasty habit of absolutely just getting everything out. If you've ever been to a funeral for a contentious relative, yeah, you've probably seen stuff like this. I kind of have to commend Bobby. I mean, definitely the right thing to say, just not the right time to say it.
Yeah.
And it needed to be said. I mean, let's be honest, everybody's reaction to it is just kind of proof of that. If you really look at how they react to him calling out the whole town for turning a blind eye to what they knew was happening, yeah, shit like that happens.
Yeah, and if you guys need a little bit more context on what he's talking about, again, it's I went in a little depth with the line where he says, save your prayers. She would have laughed at him anyway. You all knew Laura was in trouble, but none of us, even me, but all you good people didn't do a thing to help her. We killed her. We're all responsible for her death because you can tell. I mean, everybody always says that Bobby never really loved Laura for those who have talked about the show. And some people say he do. I'm in the camp that said he did. It's just that Bobby is not the one to show his emotions in the right way. There's the talk he had before with his dad, where his dad's thinking, oh, you're going to be afraid of the funeral. Afraid? I am going to turn it upside down. Hey guys, how's it going? Ready to go? but
Oh,
but
oh,
yeah,
Bobby
it's
was
just
a
all those things.
Bobby was afraid of the funeral, but not because he was afraid of his guilt. He was afraid he was going to call everyone else out on their guilt.
Well, to that point, just if you wanted to segue into it, look what happened afterwards with because I brought up in my review how Cooper was watching everybody's reactions, but again, as soon as Cooper notices Bobby sees James and James sees Bobby, those two rush at each other with the classic winch demonic slow mo of Bobby being demonic. You are dead.
Yeah.
Because they were just going, and a lot of people had to hold them back because there was a whole group of people that had to hold James and Bobby back from each other.
Well, and it's kind of funny because, in a sense, this is foreshadowing a little something with Bobby down the road,
Yeah, yeah,
which
most definitely.
which we've talked about a few times in the rest of the episode. I mean, the other reviews of this show we've done. But yeah, Bobby basically kind of knew he was going to lose his shit at the funeral. I think that was really the hard thing about it. And there's a really great scene where I think they're inside like the wake parlor and you see like the crucifix with like the crossed palm leaves. I forget like the whole setup, but it was actually really good because I mean, number one, you don't see traditional old setups like that anymore. And just the idea that they had like the palm branch leaves, the same ones that Christ was being fanned with on his way to Galilee,
Mm-hmm.
which again, such a great touch that David Lynch has with these things.
Yeah. Well, and also there's the part that we talked about that I didn't even bring up in the review. I'll bring it up now, where it looked like Bobby was gonna take and do something with the cross because he was like doing this, and then he's like moving up to it like that, and then that's when Major Briggs came in to have the talk, and he didn't do it. So and we've always thought, what the hell was Bobby gonna do with that, or what was he gonna try to do?
And I think it really kind of goes back to Bobby just basically having his time of burning, which, yeah, he gets a little better down the road, but let's just say the darkness has definitely gotten in.
Well, again, and not to foreshadow it, but what we understand with, because as you guys know from what we've talked about, Bobby's also in love with Shelley. But spoiler warning here, if you guys don't want it spoiled. By the time we get to season three, I didn't notice it till I did the last watch through of the show when I watched everything on my own terms by myself because I was on Twin Peaks and I wanted to watch it. And when I saw it, I noticed that Bobby and Shelley did have a kid, but sometime after they had their daughter, they got divorced. So this love thing that they had did not work out. And again, could Laura have been a possible thing to that? Because there's also a point where Bobby sees Laura's picture at the start of season three, and he literally starts crying over it because he says, it brings back some memories. So again, for anyone who says Bobby never loved Laura, he did. It's just that with Laura and James, it was more of the forbidden infatuation, and with Bobby, it was more, oh, we're in love, but because I really think Laura loved Bobby, but Laura was Bobby's ticket to get the drugs so she could try to keep Bob or anything else out, because that's what she was going through, all that turmoil she was put through since a kid because of Bob or anyone else from the Black Lodge.
Yeah, it's I think Shelley was more or less what they call the rebound girl, you
Yeah,
know.
well, oh, most definitely.
But with it's kind of funny the way this funeral thing plays out, how Bobby basically has his little scene at the funeral, because this again mirrors Marilyn Monroe. There were so many people who basically had the exact same thing to say. Hollywood enabled this, like Kennedys enabled this, which they did, by the way, and yes, Hollywood did too. And basically everybody knew that shit was just going wrong in her life, but nobody said anything. We were getting good movies out of it.
Yeah.
And I mean, hey, she might have been a little on the sauce when she did it, but who didn't enjoy "Happy Birthday, Mr. President"? Well, okay, except for Jackie Onassis, but
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, this is a very hard scene for a lot of people to watch because let's be honest, we all know one of these days we're going to a funeral and somebody's pulling the Bobby card. Probably going to be me, by the way.
Well, not only that, too, what led up after that is after they sort of called the fight down,
Oh
you
yeah.
you have Leland looking at the casket who just goes, ah,
Yeah.
he dives right in onto the red casket, breaks the mechanism, and he's just crying over Laura's body in the casket as it just goes up and down. Everybody else is horrified, trying to help Leland out. And then you have, Sarah, who's like, Leland, don't you ruin this too.
Yeah, we almost had that happen at my family during my grandpa's funeral because his side girl wanted to come to the funeral and we knew she was going to do dumb shit at the last minute. This, I'm not even
She
going to.
literally jumped on the casket as
No,
it
she
went
would
down.
have.
Oh,
If my mom hadn't explicitly told her, you're not coming to the funeral, you can go after we have the ceremony, but not during, because she was always trying to start shit with our family because he loved me more. He should have been here for my daughter. Oh yeah, he didn't get to go to my sister's softball games because he had to be with the other the other daughter. It's just like there was just a whole big stink about it. And funerals really tend to have that happen a lot. Yeah, there's a reason why your local priest has a little bit of a taste for the blood of our Lord. If you know what I'm saying. Little bit of the hair of the Jesus. I mean, you see that shit enough times, you need a little something to get the nerves out.
oh yeah, oh yeah.
But there's also a lot of other great things in this, like for instance, the moment with Dr. Jacoby.
Yes.
I like
Which
this.
I almost forgot to bring up. I had to backtrack in my own review to bring that up because I almost forgot about it.
Like this to me is probably the start of like Dr. Jacoby going the other way. Like Bobby getting mixed up with Laura and her death basically started him down the dark path. Laura's death basically sent Dr. Jacoby in the opposite direction. I think this is really where it hit him, and yeah, he's still basically the Alex Jones of Twin Peaks, but he's the good Alex Jones of Twin Peaks. He's not
Mm-hmm.
the Phil DeFranco of Twin Peaks.
Eh,
Yeah, yeah. If you all remember Phil DeFranco, you all know what I'm talking about. Or hey, the mundane Matt, if you will. But anyways, yeah, it's kind of funny because this is like where you really see Dr. Jacoby in his most raw and normal. It's actually kind of funny too his admission where I believe that I'm paraphrasing a bit, but he's like, I never truly cared about her or the other patients, and just the guilt of that, and realizing that yeah, it was his detachment from her and basically everyone else that enabled this shit to happen, which, by the way, happens to a lot of psychiatrists. This is why they warn you not to get directly connected to your clients because, well, even if you work your ass off to do so, bad things can still happen and usually do.
well, yeah. Well, and basically, again, to iterate it, and I quote, so trademark using Twin Peaks. Don't say it. I mean, I probably won't get it completely right either, but it's like I'm a terrible person, Agent Cooper. Yeah, these people come to me with their problems. They tell me everything. They think of me as their friend. I listen to them. I tell them what they need. I tell them what they need to know. I do right by them. But the thing is, I just don't care. I stopped caring because you just listen and listen and listen, and you gain nothing from that. Laura came to me, and she changed all that. But even though she did, she brought something out inside of me, and it felt good. But still, Agent Cooper, I'm a terrible person.
Yeah, and I feel that because I've legitimately gotten lucky. I've had great psychiatrists, but the thing is, to be a great psychiatrist, sometimes you have to be a not so great person.
Yeah,
It's kind of the funny dichotomy of like being in the any aspect of the medical industry. If you really want to help people, sometimes you have to be the monster because you're gonna have to do monstrous shit if you want to save some people.
well, it's just like me with working in retail. You see a lot of people all
Yep.
the time. You do what you can to be your best, but some of these people just drive you the other way, and then you really start to rethink. Maybe humanity was not as good as I once thought. But I mean, again, that's the type of profession, or that's the type of thing for being trying to be the better person. Is we always have these
Yeah.
thoughts of, well enough that we want to care. We probably deep down really do, but on the surface, we really don't because you get tired of hearing it and on
Well,
and on and on.
well, hell, to make quite possibly the most batshit analogy I've ever made in my entire life, think of it like this. Why would Trump be the best president for this country? Because he's the kind of asshole who's willing to kick asses, not give a damn, and willing to have everybody hate him for it to get the job done. When you're in certain positions and jobs, you need to be the biggest bastard so that you can get the work finished. This is actually part of the reason why I call myself Jherick D. Jackass. Because if you want to get shit done and you want to genuinely help people, you're going to have to basically live with the knowledge that people are going to hate you for it. You're not going to be the most popular individual, and you're kind of going to have to do some shit to get shit done. That's why I'm the most professional jackass. I don't give a shit. I just want the job done, and I'm willing to do some crazy ass fucking shit to do it. Or you could look at it another way. I'm a good Democrat. I'm sticking to the original interpretations of what the Liberal Party was supposed to be. Because what's another name for a jackass? A donkey. And maybe you could stop fucking up our politics for 5 minutes.
Mm,
Sorry, people, I had to go there. But yeah, that's actually why I came up with the name Jerick D. Jackass. Just don't ask what the D is.
mm,
Maury Calliope's already got enough problems with that as
I
it is.
guess so.
But there's other crazy shit in this episode. I mean, just the fact that nobody stopped to try to prevent like Bobby and the other boys from being anywhere near each other. Again, I mean, I know we're all focused on the funeral, but seriously, somebody should have been like, "You boys wait over here, Bobby, you stay over here. Nobody does anything stupid." Or Hawk is, or what's his name? What's that sheriff's name? Truman.
Harry Truman.
Or Truman is going to go full Truman on all three of you. Which, by the way, you don't want Truman to go full Truman.
Well, yeah, he did it to Albert, if that's the lead-in, where like Albert wanted to
Mhm.
get the autopsy done. Everybody was fight. Well, not everybody was fighting. Benjamin Horn was being a bit of a middleman. Now, it's interesting because how they said everybody loved Laura, and you can tell Benjamin Horn also from what you've seen from some of these episodes has a dark side. Jerry was still trying to fight people for the hotel, so it's good to say, or well, not good to say, but it's important to note that Jerry Horn was on this episode because he's probably still doing business for the hotel. But you had Benjamin Horn, who right when at the beginning when they go to the scene, you have Albert and Dr. Hayward fighting amongst each other over the autopsy.
Yeah.
And Benjamin Horn is literally leaning over Laura, looking down like that, almost in longing over the dead body. That was a quick little side note. Now, I won't spoil that part, but we'll get to it, I think, in the next few handful of episodes, or at least not in season one. They will mention it in season two, so you will find out about how deep that rabbit hole went. But also, Doc Hayward and Albert were arguing over it because Dr. Hayward wanted the body to go to the funeral. Albert said, I need this for forensics. You got to let me do my job. And it just became this whole thing where, again, Albert is a jackass in this episode, but you love his barbs because Miguel Ferrer is in such top form as this character.
Well,
take it away and give your piece.
And also, you would have thought he would have learned his lesson after the first time, but smart.
It's Albert.
But hey, smart guys and bad ideas, am I right? But anyways, guess what, children? It's Devil's Advocate time, round two with Jerk to Jackass. So here's the breakdown. Both sides are, in essence, kind of right and wrong about this because the local autopsy morgue guys kind of got a point. The family does want to be able to get this funeral done and over with. They don't want the desecration of the body. They just want peace and to be able to move on. Which, spoiler warning, is kind of bullshit. It's not going to happen. You're still going to have the guilt and all that.
Oh yeah, not in this town or
but
show.
Again, this is an old-fashioned town with old-fashioned beliefs. Now, Albert is very correct in this because if you don't do the autopsy quick enough, you're definitely going to lose vital evidence in a time-sensitive manner. And also, it's like, yeah, I get it. We want to respect the family and their beliefs, but you've got a killer in your town. This guy is extremely dangerous. You've already seen he's got an appetite for the worst types of violence. You've got a whole town of potential victims. This is not the time to be clutching thy pearls and saying, think of the children.
Well, and to add to your point before you continue, remember what Bob said in the dream. I'll catch you with my death bag. You may think I've gone insane, but I promise I will kill again.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Like, even if, Cooper's methods are a little unorthodox, he is right. They need to find this guy. So, I mean, as much as I would love to say that the morgue guy should have just backed down and realized, hey, there's bigger problems here. At the same time, Albert, as much as I love the guy, he needs to understand, yeah, you're from the FBI, but this is their territory, and they could kill you faster than you could call for backup. So
yeah,
maybe lay off taking the piss on the locals.
Yeah.
They may be stupid, but guess what? They know things you don't, and frankly, if you're not careful, they'll know how many men are going to be at your back with a bunch of knives when you're not looking. So just tone down the ego.
Yeah.
And also, he could have just lied to them and be like, you know what? You're right. We will prep the body immediately. Just leave the room and then and then as you're walking away, tell Cooper, move the body to a different location so I can get the autopsy done without these yokels in the room. Then we will say there was a delay in getting the body there due to a breakdown in the hearse, and then they can have their fucking funeral. I mean, look, I don't want to. I know it's shady. I know it's kind of morally ambiguous and not right to do. But again, serial killer from hell.
Yeah.
But yeah, this episode it really touches on the human element of everything. And again, Albert was absolutely on fucking point with calling everybody a fucking inbred, ignorant, inbred, uneducated yokel, which, for the record, some of them are.
Yeah.
But at the same time, you don't want to piss off people like Truman and Hawk because Truman and Hawk are Truman and fucking Hawk.
Yeah. Well, to that point, because what Albert was saying, Truman does deck Albert in the face.
Yeah.
But at the same time, too, he wants to press charges. Cooper, newsflash, won't do it because he loves the town, and he's like, Albert, you had to come in. I'm not gonna sign that agreement that you want to press charges
Yeah.
against Harry Truman. And also, Albert makes a good point of it though too, where he said, hey, if you guys gave me a couple more days with this body, I would have found stuff. But he said, the killer had, or she had bite marks all over her body from a bird. She was tied up in several places where her arms bent back like this or something like that. And like he mentioned a few things where the killer leaned in for a kiss after she died. And Cooper is using part of these clues to interpret the dream that was in the previous episode.
Yep.
And now he's starting to, connect the dots. But that's what's cool with the lead up. But again, who knows? And again, I can see why they had this confrontation because it leaves more for the story of seasons 1 and 2
Yeah.
later, where if Albert did have time, probably could have solved who killed her a lot. Because Albert is really good. What you learn from this original show, the prequel, and season 3, Albert is really good at what he does. And Gordon does have a very good crack team because Gordon Cole isn't one of the heads, but he is one of the high operative heads of the FBI, and he and all the others are really good at what they do.
Well, and the interesting thing is, it shows you how good of a dynamic he has with Albert. They understand each other. He gives Cooper those last minute notes, which of course he knows Cooper's mind is going to be working triple overtime to make the correlations.
Oh yeah.
It's really interesting to see how good an investigation can go when you have a team that understands each other
Yes.
and works
Yes.
well even under difficult circumstances.
Mm-hmm.
And this kind of brings us to the next part of it, what's that place called? The place where they saw the logs.
The mill.
The mill, where we see that where we see Trisha Takanawa, Twin Peaks, trying to prove
Josie Packard or Jocelyn Packard, yeah.
Yeah, I'm still gonna call her Twin Peaks Trisha Takanawa because
no.
Me love you long time, Cooper. Me giving you fishbone soup. Yeah, there's people who know what I'm
saying. Is nothing happens between her and Cooper. That's the funny thing.
Well, I mean, let's be honest. Probably for the best.
Oh God! Wow, there was one main character already wrapped up in her so tight. So
yeah,
which becomes a problem later on. So hey.
Well, I mean, hey, she's already got one tier 3 simp. She doesn't need 2.
Yeah. Well, true.
But anyways, she's trying to expose the lies of the mill because she's been allowed to know. Oh, there's 2 books: the official book and the real book. And oh, look at that, the real one's missing. How did that happen?
Oh, and really quickly to say what she was telling Harry Truman, because after the funeral, everybody was meeting sort of separately with each other. And before Jocelyn shows Truman the 2 ledgers that, like Jherick said, weren't there, she starts piecing together that she thinks Catherine Martell, Pete Martell's wife, and again, Benjamin Horn are trying to kill her to take control of the mill. And all the meanwhile, Catherine is listening over on the other side of the room because the Martell's house has speakers that they can listen to and call each other from certain rooms. So she's got the button on to where it has the open speaker mode to where she's listening to everything Truman and Josie say.
And because I have to make this reference because of what happens in one of the scenes. Catherine Dew, where are you? We got an Asian to cook now. Because she's got secret panels in the walls. Like, good Lord, like, zoinks, man, the real books are gone. What happened to the real books, Scoob?
Well, not only that, to do that point, because possibly maybe you're reading into it, but Catherine Martell took the second ledger because she already knew. Because in the previous episode, if you guys remember, Pete had given Jocelyn the key that was hidden in Catherine's room for the second ledger. Catherine still knew about that, so Catherine had hid it in her desk where there's a compartment underneath her desk that looks like it's a bunch of random stuff. She whipped it up where the stuff is glued on, had the second ledger there. Sadly, Pete comes in. Like, Pete didn't have much in this episode to do other than be at the funeral and come in for this one scene, but he's like, Dear, have you seen my tackle box? Pete, when you want to do something or need something to give to somebody else, be a man about it, Pete, and ask me for it first. And then you can see the wheels are turning in Pete's head, but he gets what it's about. And he's like, maybe I'll check for my tackle box in the truck. So,
Yeah, and
because
it kind
oh,
of also implies that she knew he was going to try and do something like this to get to her. So maybe she allowed him to have enough time to show her where he thought the real books were being kept, just long enough to set this up to point out to him and Catherine by extension that, yes, I know what you're doing, and guess the fuck what? I'm ahead of you.
well,
Neener, neener.
well, not only that, it's also because you mentioned Jocelyn and Truman, but Josie Jocelyn Packard, she also has Pete sort of wrapped around her little finger because Pete is somewhat infatuated and really likes
Yeah,
her too, and because again, that's the thing about Andrew Packard's wife is that Andrew Packard picked a very hot wife. Again, originally mentioning the special features for the first two seasons of Twin Peaks, David Lynch was supposed to get Isabella Rossellini, who played Dorothy Valens in Blue Velvet, which was a great role for Isabella Rossellini. But the thing is, something I think happened with that, or I think, what's her? Well, I forget. Oh yeah, you forgot she's in that cast list here. Let's see what is it.
oh, I'll be right back.
Oh God, yeah. What is her name? Oh, Joan Chen. Joan Chen, who plays Jocelyn Packard. I think she came in to read for Josie, and they liked her so much that they chose her. And sadly, didn't go with Isabella Rossellini, which again, too bad for Isabella Rossellini. But I think it add a secretive flair not to have an Italian wife, but to have a wife who I know they haven't gotten to it yet, but has connections to Hong Kong with
Yeah.
one of Andrew Packard's biggest business competitors. Who I will not add it here, but it adds a lot of layers to how deep the rabbit hole goes into
Well,
Twin Peaks, which is pretty damn deep.
and for me, it works kind of well because if Twin Peaks is anywhere near where I think it is, it'd be close to Canada. And for those of you
What
who,
is it's in Washington, so
yeah,
yeah.
for those of you who are big Access Powers and Talia fans, you'll remember that North Korea was always hanging out with Canada. Well, that's a bit of a joking reference to the fact that Canada's got a huge population of North Koreans who go there to like study abroad and fall in love with the place and wind up living there. Well, as it turns out, it also might be kind of an allusion to American jobs getting bought out and outsourced by Asian competitors. In fact, there's a really great Michael Keaton movie about that where he's working in Detroit during the waning days of this one factory and it just got bought out by Toyota. And they send over a bunch of their efficiency experts to make sure things are going well because they're trying to screw him, the American workers, and these guys in the company they don't like over at the same time. So they have to work together despite their cultural differences to basically screw over the main company back home in Nippon. But yeah, it might be a reference to that kind of stuff too, because we lost a lot of jobs here in America in the 80s, all over the country. So honestly, in a sense, it works out better they got an Asian than an Italian. Because,
Well,
I mean, just saying.
Well, yeah, and then to that point, to the same thing, you have Benjamin Horn and Catherine Martell wanting to buy out Ghostwood because apparently, I think Catherine wants to just like bury Jocelyn and like shame her for it. And then you also have Benjamin who wants it because he'll be able to build a golf course, another hotel, a development, probably with subdivisions and everything in these woods, and it's basically the town is a lumber town, so they sort of need it. So it's sort of like that thing of big business versus small business of what the
Yeah.
main bread of the town is, and
Well,
you
and
take that away, and it's always an interesting technique. And on a side note, I guess David Lynch and Mark Frost, this whole thing with the mill was not their favorite storyline, but I'll admit I actually really liked it because I thought it brought a level of intrigue and political intrigue. Not that the show needed it, but I think it also showed how, again, for a small town, the show had a lot of darkness and a lot of things writing on it. Plus, I always say the supernatural elements. I think were against everybody trying to take over Ghostwood
well, and it was
because I don't think anyone in the lodges, black or white, would have allowed them to destroy a connection. I mean, even if you could destroy it, maybe it would have just gone to the buildings, but still, I don't think they would have allowed it.
Well, and also to me, it was my favorite side story because
Oh yeah,
when you
same here.
have corruption or just dumb shit in like a small town, almost always it's going to be the biggest business in the area, which for a lumber town is going to be the lumber mill.
Yeah.
And also, let's just be honest, Benjamin Horde was just fucking hilarious throughout this entire series.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
But
Well, him, Jerry, everybody.
but yeah, and let's be honest. I mean, as much as I'm not a big fan of Jocelyn as a character, you know she had to be desperate because if she lost the mill, she'd have to go back to Hong Kong. And
Yeah, and
given the
then
time
to
period,
him.
yeah, and given the time period, Hong Kong was still in contention over potentially being lost to China. Spoiler warning: it totally did. Thank you a lot, King Charles III, because yeah, he's the one who surrendered it back to China back in the day when he was still Prince Charles. But anyways, and don't get me wrong, if the triads are already bad enough in China, in Hong Kong they're worse because you know they're doing even crazier shit at that time period to try to get Hong Kong back to the mainland. So if you already have problems with those assholes on the mainland, going to Hong Kong, you know it's going to be worse. So she does not want to go home, and who can blame her? But as like my last aside for this, I really kind of love how Cooper's really playing into like the dream, interpreting it, understanding it, using it to try to further the investigation. Because guess what? One of my favorite comic books of all time happens to be, and just by chance, I picked this up at Bookman's yesterday. Yeah, the Good Idea Fairy actually gave me a good idea yesterday. And this one is interesting to me because in this one, like apparently Ryak, being the man bitch that he is, kidnapped some of the wolf riders, took them into the future. And now if they want to find their loved ones, they're gonna have to figure out how to get to the future without growing old and dying. Because in this world, elves actually are kind of mortal, and most of them don't have magical powers. So they find somebody who can, but they're going to be dreaming the whole time, and the dreams are not necessarily going to show everyone nice things. In fact, half of them have nightmares, which could be interpreted as the potential future of them losing the force to the humans and their way of life by extension. The other half kind of get to have some really far out dream sequences. And I love how the whole party has to come together and be like, maybe both interpretations are right. We can potentially have the good dreams as long as we stay vigilant of the possibility of the bad ones and do our best to make sure that those do not happen. It's kind of the same thing with what's his name with Cooper, because strangely enough, if you have to live in more rural areas, it seems like dream walking or traversing the dreamscape is a lot more common. The deeper connection to nature, the less technology, the more simple way of life. For some reason, that really does seem to do a lot for just moving a little outside of the normal mortal realm.
Hmm.
Also, a bit of a reason why you get the more cool ghost stories in the rural areas. But yeah, it's kind of neat to see Cooper basically getting immersed in this whole other world. But be very careful, Cooper. You don't have a lot of experience in that other world.
Well, yeah. Well, and also before we head to the next thing of characters and whatnot, there was one thing you did forget to mention that it's funny how I forgot one, and you brought up the Dr. Jacoby thing before I remembered. The one you forgot too was in this episode after the funeral, Cooper gets introduced to the Bookhouse Boys
Ah,
because Big Ed Hurley, Tommy Hawk Hill, and Sheriff Harry S. Truman, they introduced Cooper to the Bookhouse Boys because the Bookhouse Boys is this secret society of teenagers and adults that has existed in Twin Peaks for a very long time because they don't know how to say it. Not even Hawk knows how to say it, but they know there is a darkness and an evil in this town, and this society has been fighting it for a very long time. And that's sort of what's sad about season three is you don't hear of the Buckhouse Boys. I think maybe more in season three it's implied because I wouldn't doubt if Harry S. Truman's brother, Robert S. Truman, or no, Frank S. Truman, or no, Frank Truman. I don't know if we know his middle name. Frank Truman knows about it, and Bobby probably could have became a part of it. Hawk is still there, Andy's still there because I think Andy's also a Buckhouse boy, and Ed Hurley is still in the show in season 3 too, and it's just that they've been watching the thing, so they don't know what to call it, but they know it's out there. But they introduced Cooper into it. Ed was a little on the defensive though because he's like, I know this guy's becoming our friend, but he's an outsider. Are we sure we want him to trust him as a part of this group? And they also have a thing where the thing is like they either do it near the eye or on the side of the head, where it's like that. That's their like symbol call for the Bookhouse Boys is that, or like this or that.
Which is kind of neat because I would think that's like the Indian teardrop, or like the smearing of the war paint across your cheek
Yeah.
before
Oh
battle.
yeah. It's probably got to have some Native American implications to it. I bet.
And I
Yeah.
just love the fact that that they meet in like a boat slash fishing lodge, and
Mm-hmm.
they call themselves the Bookhouse Boys because, spoiler warning, a lot of secret societies love to use bookhouses,
Yeah.
libraries, uh, academic, what's it called, repositories.
Yeah.
Yeah, you'd be surprised how many of those places used to have secret societies. I mean, I'm sure Arizona probably had more than a few here in Tucson, but hey, back in the day, joining shit like the Knights of Columbus or the Shriners or any of those groups, that used to be subversive, and then all the businessmen got into that shit, and now we're holding parades and selling the most delicious Vidalia onions at pennies on the dollar. Yeah, they kind of went mainstream, but I mean, hey, who doesn't love seeing the Shriners in their little cars at the parade?
Well, there you go.
I
But
mean, back when we used to have those, by the way.
oh yeah.
But yeah, I mean, it's just kind of a neat thing, and honestly, Cooper really is a bit of a perfect fit for the Bookhouse Boys because
Yeah.
everybody in it's very much a very interesting character. I mean, Truman is just basically a badass. Hawk is also a badass. Andy is Andy would have been a perfect fit for Pee Wee's Playhouse back in the day.
Mm,
Cooper is Cooper. Let's be honest, he's fucking weird, but he's awesome. And it's just neat to see that, yeah, these guys, even beyond their normal police force, they have the Bookhouse Boys.
yeah.
Because sometimes you just got to go full Red Hood if you want to keep Gotham City safe.
Oh yeah. Absolutely. And I mean, it's just yeah, it had all that stuff and was great with it and whatnot. But I guess if that's where we're leaving it for now, who was your characters in this, Jared?
Ooh, okay. Yeah, I'm gonna go a little rogue here, and Albert's gonna be number one because Mr. Albert, you are one hell of an asshole. You went full Western. I love it.
Yeah, I mentioned Miguel Ferrer, FBI agent Albert Rosenfield in mine because yeah, his performance is great.
And let's be honest, there's only one guy who's going to be topping him in that category, but he's coming down the road, so get ready for that. Number two is definitely going to be Cooper because Cooper is again just being
Yep.
Cooper, which is best boy ever.
Oh, Kyle McLaughlin, and I told people just like with Jack Bauer in 24 when we watched 24, Kyle McLaughlin is probably always going to be mentioned because I've noticed throughout this entire show, the prequel movie where Kyle McLaughlin is not the main character, but he is in the prequel movie, and into season 3, Kyle McLaughlin is just a scene stealer for the show and a very I think he's a well-known actor, but I think he's not fully appreciated for his
Yeah.
prowess. Because I've noticed even in one of his first movies, which I think was Dune in 1984, you could see Kyle MacLachlan had the makings. Even at I think he said he was 17 when he did Dune. You know, so
Mhm.
1984. So yeah, geez Louise, I got yeah, 40 years ago now. Holy crap.
Well, I mean,
Um,
hey, he got to be Space Spice Jesus. He got to be Dale Cooper.
yeah.
And in my opinion, if you really want to make this new Batman series stick, make him the Riddler.
He would make a good Riddler. I think.
Riddler or Mad Hatter. I want to see that.
That would be great. But yeah, no, I mean that's just that Kyle MacLachlan was on there. Anybody else?
Oh, and
Because Twin Peaks is a huge cast.
of course, number three, I got a tie for both Bobby and Dr. Jacoby.
Yeah,
short-
they were on my list too.
Short, sweet, powerful.
Yep, Dana Ashbrook, Bobby Briggs, and yeah, Russ Tamblyn, Doctor Derek Jacoby.
And by the way, Dr. Jacoby still got some damn good performances in this show, so stick around. Bobby's also got a few more good moments coming up. So again, this is an episode where I could have picked anybody, but I mean, let's be honest. Dale Cooper, he may not be the main character. He's the whole damn show.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I forgot Dr. Lawrence Jacoby, not Derek Jacoby, but Lawrence Jacoby. But no, those are good pick. Those are good picks, Jherick. Overall, anything else you would want to add for final thing?
And I mean, just one last dark thought, since it's Halloween and all. If you pay attention to all the fun little toys they're going to be playing with at the back of the wall in the Bookhouse Boys Lodge area, you'll notice those are all actual real medical instruments and torture devices. And hey, what better place to torture a person or potentially get rid of a problem that needs to be getting rid of than a tackle house? Because hey, it's going to be dirty and full of blood anyways. Yeah, I'm not joking. You want to clean up, you want to commit a crime and remove as much possibility of those pesky kids and their talking dog. Do it at a place like a slaughterhouse, a pig, a cow slaughterhouse, or a tackle house because there's going to be blood all over the place, anyways.
Well, all right then.
I mean, not like I'm giving people suggestions or anything, just saying.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I would hope not, dude. Well, anyway, guys, thank you for watching. We've enjoyed you guys, and all two of you currently who are watching live. Thank you very much. But this is all one Tubo Crew, and
remember, children, never piss off the Trumans. Ever.
Jherick the Jackass.
Oh,
Okay, if he doesn't want to say his name, I'll say his name. So there you go, Jherick the Jackass. But we will see you guys again. And because did I spit on you?
No.
Okay, and basically, yeah, you guys have a good one. And since it is that day since Jherick brought it up, have a happy Halloween, and we'll see you guys again. All right, see ya.
This is Halloween. This is Halloween.
Don't get a suit anymore. You already did enough.
We're already in enough trouble.